reason I'm doing it is because when my dad passed away 40 years ago, I was unable to speak. I was just so emotional that I knew that I could never get through it. And I regretted it all those years, that I didn't stand up and speak for my dad. So I do it this morning for my mother. Somebody told me, as a matter of fact, it was Phyllis, who's that caregiver that took care of my mother and did a wonderful job in doing that. She told me about a poem called The Dash. And I'm not going to recite that poem, but it's pretty simple and basic. There, on a plaque, when you go to the cemetery or a tombstone, you'll see the date of birth and you'll see the date of death. And in between those two dates is a dash. We have no control over the numbers. We don't have any control over the birth. That's our parents do. We have no part in the death. That's the good Lord above. But what we do have control over is the dash. And we can make good of that dash or not. And we can make that dash count. And I like to think that when it came to my mother and that dash for me personally was time well spent. I spent a lot of time with my mother. I loved my mother dearly. And I thought that I would have no regrets. And as much time as I spent with her, I still have regrets. I wished I would have done a lot more. But if we go back to my mother's dash, which is 1920, she's born, and of course 2013, and we have the dash. My mother was born and raised in Coriopolis, and I don't want to go too much into history, but she was one of 8 children. There were 4 sisters and 4 brothers. Her oldest brother was 20 years older than her. And all of her brothers and her sisters spoiled her. She was spoiled. Then, at 19, she met her future husband, and the days of being spoiled were over. She didn't realize it, but she learned pretty quickly that she wasn't going to be spoiled. As tough as things were, and they were very difficult, I remember those early days, she never complained. She just rolled up her sleeves and she went to work. And she raised a wonderful family. As you can see, the folks in this room, the family in this room, the love that's in this room. We had a caregiver from hospice the very last day. And she was there and she witnessed my mother's passing. And she had 35 years of experience working with hospice, and she saw many individuals pass. But when my mother passed and took her final breath, I was holding her hand, and my sister Debbie was singing "When We All Get to Heaven." What a day of rejoicing that would be. Most of you folks know that song. But the hospice nurse was overwhelmed with the love that she witnessed in that room. She cried as hard as any one of us. And she said, in 35 years of doing this job, I have never witnessed so much love in my life. And she was writing a book about her different experiences, and she said that would be in her book. I think every one of my sisters and my brother would think they were her favorite. But I really think I was. My mom and I had a very special relationship. She was absolutely, without question, the best mom in the world. None better. And I think we'll all feel that same way. And we're all going to deeply miss her. We know where she's at. She's walking on the streets of gold. And she's walking hand in hand with my dad. And that's what she wanted. She wanted to go. She said, I want to go to heaven. I want to be with your dad, and I want to be with my mother. She loved her mother dearly too. But I don't want to drag on, but just in closing, I want to remind those out there that have your mom, and you're lucky enough to have them. Make your dash count. Use that time that you have, and when you think you're too busy, to spend time with your mom, and you take her somewhere. Moms are special. So again, I didn't start my opening statement, which would have been thank you for coming here and commemorating my mother's life, and I appreciate that very much.